welcome to Benning Auto Parts Facebook page this morning. It's Tuesday morning. The shop is getting back in full gear after taking a couple of days off for the Thanksgiving holiday to be with our families. I hope each and every one of you had a great Thanksgiving and enjoyed spending quality time with the families. So with that being said, it's Tuesday morning. We're getting back in it. Got a good week we need to finish up this week and get some jobs done for customers. And that brings me to this particular job. This is the LS 6.2 liter engine that we've been building for a customer that's going to be a supercharged. Now, just a quick review of this engine, of what the internals are and what the customer's expectations are. First of all, it's a 6.2 liter LS block. Comes in Escalade, Cadillacs, some of your later model Chevy pickups and so forth. But this one has got a 4-inch stroke crankshaft in it. It's bored out to 4075 bore. It makes the cubic inches on this motor like 416. So the customer is looking to be about 900 to 1,000 horsepower at the wheel once he gets supercharger installed and everything is bolted up and ready to go and got it in a vehicle. Don't really know what kind of vehicle he's putting it in yet. I think that's still to be determined, but he wanted to go ahead and get ahead of the game and have this engine ready to go. So we've been working on this thing now for the complete month of November. We kind of give you a quick overview. We started on the initial assembly, I think, the first week in November, and we've posted several things as we've gone along showing the progress we've made. So today, I'm going to kind of go over everything we've done and kind of show everything and talk a little bit about it, and then get ready to give this engine in the long block form to the customer so that he can get it ready for the next step in his build. Like I said, this is a 6.2 liter 4-inch stroke scat crank, 4075 bore. So we have done several things to this engine to make it compatible with what the customer wants to do. Number one, and the biggest thing, is this engine originally came with variable valve timing and DOD lifters. Well, we've kind of modified that a little bit. Got a regular timing cover on it with the cam sensor in the front of the cover. We've got his harmonic bouncer installed. We've got the internals done. We've got his cylinder heads ready to go and bolted on. So when we put these cylinder heads on, making that much horsepower, you've got to keep these heads from lifting. So there's certain head gaskets you must use. This particular one is LS6 or LS7 head gaskets. They're a multi-layer steel head gasket, about 5 layers. I actually get these right from General Motors. They're supposed to give you the best seal as far as applications that are involving nitrous supercharger prochargers. So that's what we did. We got those for the customer, got them installed. We also put a set of ARP head studs in this engine. So the head studs, the purpose of those, it gives you a much better clamping system, or clamping torque, so that it's more consistent along the cylinder head when you torque it down. Final torque on these bolts, on these ARP studs, which has nuts on them of course, is about 80 foot-pounds is the final torque value. And these are not stretch bolts. These are not torque to yield. They've got a true torque factor that is provided to you from ARP, who we got the bolts from, or the head studs from. So that's really important for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a one-time investment. They're expensive initially. When you buy them, they're close to $400. But the application is well worth the investment because they, number one, are reusable. if something happened, you blew a head gasket or you wanted to change your cylinder head configuration, these bolts are reusable. Okay, you don't throw them away like you do the factory stretch torque to heel bolts. So that's one really good factor about using ARP head studs. The initial investment, like I said, is really worth the price. The second thing we've done for him, we've got the plate mounted right here. This is the valley plate. It seals off the oil galleys in the top of the engine. Oil pressure is picked up right here. Another nice feature for the customer, we've put a low profile oil pan on it right here. So basically what this allows is the rear sump is not as deep as a truck pan is. So you don't want the rear sump hanging way down below your cross member, because first time you go over a speed bump or accidentally go off a curb or something, boom, knock the oil pan off your motor. And of course, in certain situations that could be very catastrophic, especially if you dump all the oil and you don't realize it. So we put a low profile pan on it for the customer. It's brand new, comes with a pan, pickup, baffle, all that's installed for the customer. We've got his covers on, front and rear covers. I've got his oil filter installed. I've actually even got oil in this engine. We use a pressurizing system. The most critical time of an engine on a new build especially is the initial startup. You try to avoid dry startup. I know you've probably heard that all your life. So what is dry startup? Well, dry startup simply means you're starting the engine with no oil pressure. No oil on the bearings, no oil on the camshaft, no oil on the rockers, no oil everywhere or anywhere. So we try everything we can to avoid that for the customer. So what we do is we have a tank, a pressurized tank with a metering system where we actually put the customer's oil in the tank. In this particular case on this engine, it was about 6 quarts. It holds 8 quarts from the factory, but remember, we're using a very shallow sump pan, so that reduces that capacity from 8 to about 6. So we put the 6 quarts of oil in the canister, in the oil canister tank. We pressurize that tank. We put about 60 pounds of pressure in it. Then we hook a hose right here where the oil pressure switch would normally be. And then we open that valve and we let the air force the oil into the engine. So when it does that, it forces it through all the oil passages. It forces it up the push rods. It gets all the main bearings and rod bearings oiled and lubricated. It pumps the lifters up. You can actually sit here while you're doing that and you can hear the lifters clicking as they pump up. And that's a good thing. And then once you get to the end of that, it takes, you have to pressurize that tank between 40 and 60 pounds about 3 times. It takes about 3 different applications to get the full amount of the oil into the engine. And it's a good thing when you start seeing your oil coming out your rocker arms. Okay, so and we saw that. We actually saw it on both sides. Oil, never even turning the engine, except I did turn it by hand. I like to turn them by hand. That way anything that's sitting in one spot over an oil galley will move. And as it's moving, it lets that oil come through whatever was blocked by the crankshaft, rod bearings, main bearings as you turn it. So that has all been done. These heads are, just a little quick update on the customer's heads. He's actually got a real nice set of heads. These heads are what we refer to as rectangular port heads. You can see the ports are rectangular. They're long and they're wide. Typically, the early LS engines were what we call cathedral port heads. These rectangular port heads are for much more horsepower, and the airflow, fuel flow mixture is much greater and much more efficient with these rectangular port heads. You need a lot of fuel. When you're making 900 or 1,000 horsepower, with a supercharger, you need to be able to push a lot of air and fuel through your ports. He's had these heads bowl blended. Real nice job. I looked at it. The bowl blending looks really, really good. He's had the upgraded springs to go. He's used stainless steel chromium springs with retainers and locks. All that's been done. We've put a set of hardened push rods in it. Now the length on these push rods, believe it or not, the length doesn't change even with the increased lift of the camshaft. The length on these push rods is 7" 400. So he's got a real nice camshaft in it. It's a special design turbo supercharged camshaft. It's about 620 lift, 621. It should work really, really good for his application. So with this all this is finished, it's ready for the customer, and we just want to give you a little update of what we've been working on here at the shop. And we'll have a new project coming up real soon. I'll go ahead and give you a little sneak preview of it. It is a Pontiac 400, old school 1967 Pontiac 400 come out of the GTO. So that is the next project that we'll be doing. We'll try and do that for you from start to finish. And this engine, and I'll give you just a little sneak preview, kind of get your inquisitive powers going. This engine was recently built at another shop, and it's got numerous problems. It wasn't even crank and run, and the man spent a lot of money. And so we're going to document all that. I'm not going to say where the shop was. All I know is down in Alabama somewhere. That's all I know. That's all I really care about. I don't really care who it was. Don't want to call no names. But my intention is to get the customer taken care of. That's what we're going to do. He trusts us to go through it and find out the issues and problems with it, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to fix it, and we're going to give it back to him, and it's going to be very good to go in his 67 GTO. So stay tuned for that starting next week. Look forward to visiting with you again, and I hope you've enjoyed this LS build. It's been fun. Got some good pieces in this motor, and I'm really excited about it. I want to see it making some good long burnouts out there once he gets it in his customer's car. Thanks again, and have a great afternoon.